Greetings guys and welcome back to the channel. Due to the Ahsoka series, Baylan and Shin are at the front of everybody's minds, and more specifically their alignment in the Force and terminology we should use when describing that alignment. Many people have been confused about the terminology of the Dark Jedi, so today I wanted to make a video explaining why Baylan and Shin fall under the definition of a Dark Jedi, how that differs from other dark side organizations such as the Sith, and more importantly the Jedi Order as a light side organization, but also discuss the tumultuous history that the term Dark Jedi has had in and out of the Star Wars universe, establish where the terminology came from and why the actual creator of the terminology said that we shouldn't use it very often at all, and yet why the term Dark Jedi still persists. So without further ado, let's start with Baylan and Shin. In the very first episode of Ahsoka, Baylan clearly states to the Republic officer that they are no Jedi. This would seem to shut down everybody referring to them as Dark Jedi, as they are not Jedi at all. However, the term Dark Jedi is not so cut and dry. The term Dark Jedi was originally coined by Timothy Zahn, the creator of both Thrawn as well as Legends characters like Mara Jade Skywalker. Timothy Zahn was the original writer of the Heir to the Empire Legends series, and later returned to Star Wars canon to write the Thrawn trilogy that we know and love today. The term Dark Jedi was originally used to describe the character of Jorah Sabaoth, a clone of a Jedi who fought during the Clone Wars who had turned to the dark side and that Thrawn needed the help of. Jorah Sabaoth was the dark side force threat of the Legends sequel trilogy, and Timothy Zahn wanted to create the term Dark Jedi because what exactly it meant to be a Sith had not been laid out clearly before him yet. Keep in mind, when Heir to the Empire was first published, we were still 8 years away from the Phantom Menace, and Lucas had not gone into great detail about what exactly it meant to be a Sith. With the basics of the Sith Order not being established, Timothy Zahn didn't know exactly how to describe Jorah Sabaoth, so he chose to ultimately term it as a Dark Jedi, a corrupted, fallen Jedi. And although the clone of Jorah Sabaoth in his own mind was in fact a former Jedi, the term would take on a deeper meaning as time went on. Timothy Zahn admitted that this term was descriptive but not very original at all. It was later revealed by Leland Shee, who was in charge of continuity at Star Wars over at Lucasfilm, that although the term Dark Jedi did exist in both Legends and canon continuity, that oftentimes when writing and producing Star Wars that they strayed away from the term, believing that it could confuse audience members about what exactly it meant to be a Dark Jedi. A quote from Leland Shee says this: "We avoid Dark Jedi when we can. Dark Jedi by definition, though, still refers to any kind of dark side user. A Dark Jedi is anyone who practices the dark side of the Force, whether or not they were former Jedi." The last known canon use of the term Dark Jedi was in the Stories of the Jedi and Sith, which was published in 2022, with the term also stated several times over the course of the Clone Wars series, as well as mentioned in Dooku Jedi Lost, as well as the canon novel Master and Apprentice. So although it has been a term that many have shied away from, it very much is still prevalent in the Star Wars canon. So with all of that said, where exactly are Baylan and Shin in alignment to the Force itself? Are they Dark Jedi, or do they fall under something else entirely? One thing should be very clear. Baylan is clearly an enemy of the Sith, Lord Vader, and Darth Sidious. He views them as pure evil, and while he deems Thrawn as a necessary evil, he holds Anakin Skywalker and Sidious accountable for the destruction that they caused, even with this echoing into Anakin's own apprentice, with Baylan holding Ahsoka responsible for abandoning her master. They are not aligned with the dark side of the Force the same way that a Sith normally would be. Dark Jedi are also sometimes chronicled as Fallen Jedi, which is the name of Ahsoka in which Baylan and Shin are heavily featured. And although Fallen Jedi has several meanings throughout the episode, it clearly is a reference to both Shin and Baylan. Shin herself is not a former Jedi, although she does fall under the mantra of a Dark Jedi. Dark Jedi has been used as a broad term to describe all Force wielders who are not aligned with the Sith. It does not necessarily mean that they have to have any prior affiliation with the Jedi Order, although Baylan does. But this doesn't mean that Baylan or Shin are the common type of Dark Jedi. In fact, they're very uncommon in nature. Most Dark Jedi are the underlings of more powerful Sith Lords. Dark Jedi are often criticized by the Sith for lacking ambition. They seek only to attain small goals, while the Sith seek to dominate everything. A Dark Jedi would be content with little power, whereas a Sith has a need and even an urge to control all they deem lesser. Many Sith Lords in fact hate Dark Jedi but deem them very useful. They realize that these Dark Jedi have power, but lack the ambition to reach the true extents of what that power can grant them. Another good example of an interesting Dark Jedi in Star Wars canon is Terran Malicos. Malicos crash-landed on the world of Dathomir after feverishly escaping Order 66. Because of Order 66, he was extremely frightened and felt a pull to the dark side that he could not resist. In fact, the very planet of Dathomir seemed to speak to Malicos, urging him to embrace the dark side of the Force and become more powerful than any Jedi could. Just like Baylan and Shin, Malicos had no great love for the Sith, and in fact wanted to establish a new Jedi Order but with the teachings of the dark side, so that with the dark side itself, they could hope to overthrow the Sith overlords, making Malicos one of the rare Dark Jedi that stood against the Sith, despite being corrupted himself, as the dark side corrupts everything. But something incredibly unique again about Baylan and Shin, as the two of them have not fully accepted and embraced the dark side itself, but rather wield a sort of righteous fury. Make no mistake, Baylan and Shin are still under the allure of the dark side, but rather, they seek to use the dark side for what they deem to be a greater good, and that is why their lightsaber crystals are in fact orange instead of red. Pain is still imprinted upon them, rage is still imprinted upon them, but so is their ultimate goal for a better galaxy. They have foregone the feelings of peace and serenity and leaned into power, but still not fully controlled and corrupted by the darkness just yet. When one bleeds their lightsaber crystal, it is a very expression of who they are, but again, Baylan and Shin are different. It is clear that their ultimate motivation is not that of power. If it was power, the crystal would be fully corrupted and turn red. Rather, they seek to use the newfound power of the dark side itself for a better future. Just as they view Thrawn as a necessary evil, Baylan likely views the dark side itself as such. And in a way, this makes them extremely dangerous. But back to the very terminology of Dark Jedi. It is my opinion that Lucasfilm should introduce a brand new term that is more broad to describe someone who wields the dark side of the Force and practices the dark side of the Force that is not a Dark Jedi, creating a brand new term for the canon. Something like this might actually be on the horizon with the Acolyte series. Some have even suggested the brand new term for a wielder of the dark side that is not a Jedi or a Sith will simply be an Acolyte, as the Acolyte series itself will revolve around the seeds of the dark side growing during the High Republic era when the Jedi were extremely prosperous and strong. In Star Wars Legends, the term Dark Acolyte was actually a rank within the ancient Sith Order. And what's even more compelling about this is that Asajj Ventress has been referred to in canon as a Dark Acolyte, meaning that it's completely possible that this will be the more general term for those that wield the dark side but are not Jedi or Sith, are not fallen Jedi, but again, are Dark Acolytes. With all that said though, the term Dark Jedi still very much appears in Star Wars canon, but it's likely that this will no longer be the norm. But anyway, my friends, thank you so much for visiting the channel today, and I hope that this video went a ways to clear things up, as well as explain where Baylan and Shin lie within the Force, as well as why their alignment in the Force, them being not fully dark side in nature, makes them very dangerous and extremely compelling. As always, my friends, thank you so much for passing by the channel and giving me your time. It means the world to me, and may the Force be with you.